Hi everybody, my name is Keegan Cooper and this is Story Behind the Story. This week we talked to Angel, Justin, and Cameron about their stories. First up, we have Angel joining us here to talk to us about Cut Loose. Can you just tell us a little about, what is Cut Loose and what does that kind of mean for Northwest?
Cut Loose was an event organized by Up Till Dawn, which raises money around the school year for St. Jude. But this event, they organize for people to come donate at least 8 inches of their hair, and it goes to Children with Hair Loss, which is a non-profit organization that provides wigs made out of real hair to kids every single year until they're 21 years old.
What does it mean, raising this money for St. Jude's and for these kids to have, hair and make them feel, better? What does this kind of mean for Northwest moving forward? Can we hope to see more and more? Is this a recurring event that we have every year to kind of put on and stuff like that?
This was actually the first time that Up Till Dawn did the hair donation. Liz organized it because she had donated her hair in high school events, and so she knew about it, and there was always great turnout, so she thought she'd bring it to Northwest because she's the sides event chair, and so they needed a side event before their main event in the spring semester, and so this was what she decided to do it. And so the hair goes to Children with Hair Loss, but while there she was like, hey, we're Up Till Dawn and we raise money for St. Jude, and this is what St. Jude does. And so she just asked people present to try to donate, and during the night, they would look through everyone who donated, just thank them using the microphone, which was pretty cool. So.
And I know you had the chance to talk to some other students, Elizabeth and Evan, 2 students that donated. What did Elizabeth and also Evan have to say about, the experience and then, what it means to them to, come out here and donate for this cause?
They both pretty much said the same thing on how that they were happy that their hair would get cut and not just go in the trash. Like, it was going to someone that needs it more. And hair does grow back, so it's just helping someone. And as Evan put it, look normal, because some people just don't have hair. But Evan had never donated, so this was his first time, but Elizabeth had before, so she was just donating that again.
And how much, for this event, how much money did they end up raising? How much hair was donated, per person? How much did they actually, end up, cutting off, getting their hair cut with?
Yeah, so from 5 to 9 on Friday, they raised a little over $500 for St. Jude, which their goal for the year is $40,000, and they're almost to $20,000 already, and the first semester's not even over yet. And 74 people donated hair, and hair donation was a minimum of 8 inches cut off, but you could cut more. So I think most people decided just to cut 8 inches or around there, and it's actually not that much hair when you look at all the hair that some people have.
Mm-hmm. But definitely a big change for those students and coming out here and supporting the cause for St. Jude's, really making a difference not only here at Northwest but in the community. It can be a big change, and having your friends there to support, you kind of get your haircut and stuff. It's really awesome to see. But thank you, Angel, for coming and talking to me today. It's one of those events that's amazing to see, people come out and participate in, and raise money for a greater cause. But thanks, Angel. We'll be right back. We're going to take a short break with Story Behind the Story, so stay with us. Welcome back to Story Behind the Story. I'm Keegan, your host. Joining us next, we have Cameron here to talk to us about downtown renewal. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So downtown renewal for Maryville. What can you tell us a little bit about it? What does it kind of entail? I know we've got a couple different projects that have been approved and other stuff that's going through. But what can you give us? The main kind of description about it.
Yeah. So Downtown Maryville is a nonprofit organization here in town. They've been around for 5 years, and they were the specific recipient of the grant. It wasn't the city government itself, because downtown they had this goal of revitalizing the central business district area and the downtown area. So they were one of 3 cities that got $20,000 specifically out of the $200,000 grant. And essentially they spent the last 2 weeks, early this month, meeting with economic development experts, architects, some historians. They met with people from Iowa, from Ohio. They had a 5-day meeting, essentially meeting with all these people, kind of filtering ideas, bouncing stuff off each other about how they want to move forward in terms of revitalizing the downtown area. So they have a couple projects on hand, but as far as specific things, a lot of stuff is going to be coming later. They spent a lot of the month really just kind of getting focused on, moving forward on this right now. So they've got a few lined up, but nothing concrete thus far.
And, getting kind of their ideas in order and then getting, moving forward. What did City Manager Greg McDaniel have to say about, receiving this grant and what it means for downtown Maryville?
Well, he's excited for it. The grant was essentially, you can't do anything without the work of the employers, without the city, without downtown Maryville, because what they can do by working together is that the city can provide extra money, because downtown Maryville is the one that's going to be in charge. They're in charge of the money. The city doesn't have the money. So it's going to be, having them work together to be able to decide projects. It's only going to make things easier, but it's going to allow them to have, bigger budgets for projects. So essentially, this money is telling them, hey, if you guys work together, you guys can accomplish more.
What do you think are some of the main, if like you said, some things are still in the works, but some of the main things they want to look at improving? Are there any certain buildings down there, historically buildings?
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't mention in the article, but the buildings there at 320 Main Street, they took off the metal signage on there, so they're going to be doing some development on that storefront. The Rapid Elite printing cartridge, that place is right by the bar. They're going to be doing some storefront design on that, so that's going to be different colors, new windows. And then I haven't been to the offices yet, but Matt Garden, who's the president of Downtown Maryville, told me the new law offices by kind of the current law offices are going to be doing some work down there. So those are projects that are concrete. Pocket parks, which are essentially like small little parks that fit in between buildings and small areas. It's not like a massive park, but they're going to be building some of those in the area. New signage that kind of correlates with what Northwest has. Small things in that nature, some window redesign. So they've got some things lined up, but it's all going to be about working with the employers. If the employers want work done on their place, and that's going to help the downtown district, kind of what I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
It's just about getting everyone to buy in, and they've done a good job about that. They've got a lot of employers that want work done. What we spoke of, just revitalizing that downtown area. So.
And I know I look forward to it, and with that grant, we're going to be able to do it. And you said getting those employers working together. We're going to look to see, downtown Maryville, get back, and looking good, and be that kind of tourist attraction, because, having something historical and being a part of that, kind of being a part of that culture of Maryville, coming to Northwest, especially for me, it's it's a great thing. And then to be able to go kind of see some history from a different place that you're not from, or see some of the historical things about Maryville, about the university and things like that. It's gonna be awesome. But thank you, Cameron, for coming and talking to me today about this downtown renewal. I know I'm excited. I want to see the plans as they come into, and go downtown. I always love to go downtown and look at all the buildings, look at the history and stuff like that. But we're gonna take a short break here on Story Behind the Story, and we'll be right back with you to talk some Bearcat football. Hi everybody, we're back with Story Behind the Story. I'm Keegan, your host. Joining us next, we've got Justin here to talk about some Bearcat football. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm excited. It's a little cold outside. I'm still not getting used to that. Got to put a couple coats on, but I'm able to survive. But we see last regular season game for Northwest, they come out with a win against UCM. What kind of happened in that game to put Northwest on top?
Well, they got out to a really big lead. They were up 24-0 at half, and just kind of sailed through that game. It wasn't a really tough challenge for them. After the game against Fort Hays, it was nice to see them come out with a little bit of confidence and kind of take control of the game early. But UCM put up 3 scores in the fourth quarter when it was kind of garbage time. The game was already decided by that point, and they were able to get the win, 48-21. Coach Wright was happy with how they played the first 3 quarters. He wasn't happy with them giving up those 3 scores in the fourth quarter. Didn't want to see that, but they were playing 2s and 3s at that time, so it was kind of something that was a downside, but at the same time it was all right because they were, in control of the game. They were able to run the ball really well. Caldwell had a big day. Josh Caldwell finally had a big day. He had over 200 yards total between receiving and catching and 4 touchdowns. So it was altogether a really good performance and a really good confidence builder after the Fort Hays game.
And with that win, we see that Northwest shares the MIAA championship. Great accomplishment after a long season, but it's not over yet. We got playoffs coming up, and let's talk a little bit about that. We got a big rivalry game coming up with Grand Valley State. What can we look to see in that game? this being a big rivalry.
It's kind of interesting because it is kind of a renewal of the rivalry. They played 5 times between 2005 and 2013, all in the playoffs, 3 in national championship games, and then 2 in semifinals. But at the same time, none of the players on either team have ever played each other. They weren't a part of that rivalry. And Coach Wright kind of talked about that as he remembers all those games. He was on staff for all those games. He remembers, playing Grand Valley and the atmosphere that was kind of with those games. But none of the players have ever experienced anything like that. And they've all just kind of been listening to Coach Wright. A lot of the coaches talk about how the rivalry has gone, and they've kind of got a little bit of a feel for that, but at the same time, it is just another game for them. It's another step they want to take. Obviously, if they lose, their season's over, so that's enough motivation as it is. And
it's all about putting that complete game together. You see offense and defense and special teams and everybody come together. What is the kind of main factor for Northwest? What are they going to have to do well?
Other than defending the long ball, like I just talked about, it's going to be the physical run game that they kind of established the last week against UCM. Talked to Coach Wright after that game and asked him, they ran the ball 55 times, and I asked him if that was something that he kind of set during the week, if it was something that, the physical run game was something that he wanted to impose this week and going into the playoffs, and he said yes. During practice before the UCM game, they ran the ball, or they ran more than they did in previous weeks, and he kind of talked about how they really want to impose that, especially when you get in the playoff, the weather starts getting worse. You've got to be able to have a run game, a consistent run game, in order to win playoff games and go deep into the playoffs. So that run game is going to be key. And Caldwell getting a big day, getting some confidence is going to be key, and also Strayhorn being able to keep his consistency that he's had all year.
Well, no, I'm looking forward to the Grand Valley game coming up, and looking forward to see Northwest go deep in the playoffs. Possibly throw up another championship here for us. But I want to thank you, Justin, for coming and talking about Bearcat football. Always great to keep up on all the updates and keep excited. I'm looking forward to the playoffs, and I know everybody else is also. I want to take time to thank all our guests today, Cameron, Justin, and Angel, for coming and talking to us. This is Story Behind the Story, and I'm your host. You can catch Story Behind the Story live on Facebook and KZLX at noon on Thursdays during Student Media Day, or Monday through Thursday at 6:30 p.m. on KNWT Channel 8.